There are moments in life that are so quiet, you almost miss them. Nothing extraordinary happens. No dramatic breakthrough. No sudden realization. Yet somehow the life you've been living begins to feel unfamiliar. Conversations that once mattered now leave you feeling empty. You stop explaining yourself as much. You begin enjoying your own company in ways you never expected. At first it's confusing. You wonder if you've become distant, less motivated, maybe even disconnected. But what if none of that is true? What if these quiet changes aren't signs that you're losing yourself, but signs that you're finally becoming the person you were always meant to be? If you enjoy exploring psychology, human behavior, and the hidden patterns that shape our lives, consider subscribing. Every week, we dive into ideas that help you understand yourself on a deeper level. Most people believe becoming a better version of themselves means adding something. More confidence, more discipline, more success. But psychology tells a different story. Real transformation rarely comes from adding. It comes from letting go. Letting go of expectations you never chose, fears you inherited, roles you learned to play just to feel accepted. Little by little, the person you've been performing starts giving way to the person you've always been underneath. And when that happens, 7 silent signs begin to appear. The first sign is that you stop trying to impress everyone. Not because you've stopped caring, but because you've started caring about something more important. Your own opinion. For years, many people organize their lives around one invisible question. What will they think? Without realizing it, every decision passes through someone else's approval. But one day the question changes. What feels true to me? It seems like a small shift. In reality, it's the beginning of psychological freedom. Because the moment your inner voice becomes louder than outside opinions, your life starts changing from the inside out. The second sign is quieter. Your decisions become calmer. You no longer rush to prove yourself. You don't feel the need to announce every goal or defend every choice. You simply move. Psychologists have long observed that genuine self-trust reduces the need for constant reassurance. When you know why you're doing something, you spend far less energy convincing everyone else. Confidence becomes quieter, but somehow, much stronger. The third sign surprises many people. Some dreams begin losing their appeal. At first, this can feel frightening. You wonder if you've lost your ambition. But often that's not what's happening at all. Sometimes you're simply outgrowing goals that were never truly yours. Goals shaped by comparison, by expectation, by the desire to impress. As those borrowed ambitions fade, something more authentic slowly takes their place. A life that feels meaningful doesn't always look impressive. And that's exactly why it feels so different. The fourth sign is that peace becomes more valuable than stimulation. You stop chasing constant excitement. A quiet morning becomes more satisfying than endless distractions. Silence no longer feels empty. It feels restorative. For the first time, you begin hearing your own thoughts without the noise of everyone else's expectations. And that's where clarity often begins. Not in the loudest moments, but in the quietest ones. The fifth sign is subtle, yet incredibly powerful. Your emotions stop controlling your choices. You still feel fear. You still experience doubt. You still have difficult days. But emotions no longer decide the direction of your life. Instead, they become information. Fear tells you to prepare. Sadness invites reflection. Frustration reveals where something needs to change. You stop fighting your emotions and start listening to what they're trying to teach you. The sixth sign may be the hardest one to accept. You become willing to disappoint people. Not because you've become cold. Not because you've stopped caring. But because you've finally realized that keeping everyone happy was never your responsibility. For a long time, many of us confuse kindness with self-sacrifice. We apologize for setting boundaries. We say yes when we mean no. We carry emotional burdens that were never ours to carry. Then something quietly changes. You begin understanding that every time you betray your own values to avoid disappointing someone else, you disappoint yourself instead. Healthy boundaries don't separate you from people. They reconnect you with yourself. And the people who truly value you rarely ask you to abandon who you are in order to keep them comfortable. The seventh and final sign is perhaps the quietest of them all. You begin trusting your own direction. Even when no one else understands it. There comes a point where you no longer need every decision to make sense to everyone around you. Some people will question your choices. Some won't understand why you've changed. Others may even prefer the older version of you. The version that was easier to predict, easier to please, easier to control. But becoming the person you were meant to be isn't about making everyone comfortable. It's about becoming honest enough that you no longer need to pretend. That honesty creates something incredibly rare. Inner peace. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because your life finally begins to reflect who you really are. If you've recognized yourself in any of these 7 silent signs, let me ask you something. Which one surprised you the most? Share your answer in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this deeper exploration of psychology and human behavior, take a moment to leave a like. It helps this message reach people who may need to hear it today. There's one final truth that psychology quietly teaches us. Becoming the person you were meant to be doesn't always feel like gaining something. Sometimes feels like losing. You may lose friendships that depended on pretending. You may lose ambitions that were built on comparison. You may lose the constant need to prove your worth. At first, those losses can feel unsettling. But look a little closer. You're not losing yourself. You're losing the versions of yourself that were created by fear. And every layer that falls away makes room for something far more genuine. Perhaps that's why real transformation is so difficult to notice. It doesn't arrive with applause. It doesn't demand attention. It happens in the small decisions no one else sees. The conversation where you finally speak honestly. The opportunity you quietly decline. The boundary you set without guilt. The peaceful afternoon you no longer feel the need to escape. Over time, these moments stop being exceptions. They become your way of living. Maybe becoming the person you were meant to be was never about finding yourself. Maybe your real self was patiently waiting beneath years of expectations. Beneath the need for approval. Beneath the fear of not being enough. And perhaps the greatest sign that you're finally becoming who you were meant to be is that you're no longer asking the world to tell you who you are. You're finally listening to yourself. If this video resonated with you, let me know in the comments which silent sign you've experienced most in your own life. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this journey into the psychology of personal growth. And if you'd like to continue exploring the hidden patterns of the human mind, click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now. I think you'll find it just as meaningful. I'll see you there.